Okay, tell me when.
I'm recording.
Hi everyone, it's Bob. I'm over at the ReviewTube headquarters, and what we're going to be talking today a little bit about, and I put it up, it's called ramblings. And what I mean by ramblings is I'm going to be rambling a lot today, but I'm going to be talking specifically about techniques, and more importantly than just techniques, how the actual techniques and people are working in the background. So you just focus on me. The techniques and how the techniques actually translate into influence. So one of the big problems that people are having, and I mean everywhere, and it's not just our company, it's everywhere, is they don't understand that when you are the person that's hearing the information for the first time, they are going to take it on its surface, and they may not be able, just because you're saying it, they may not be able to decipher the implication of what you're saying. So if you try describing features in a presentation and they're not understanding the implication because they haven't deciphered it when you're stating something, you're probably going to lose the impact. So the problem that so many sales execs have is they believe that the words that they're saying when they're describing a product is enough for them to have that viewer who's listening for the first time decipher, truly decipher, and get what the actual correlating meaning is and the impact to the value of what they're saying based on just a description. That's not how it works. It'll never work that way. So you've got people that just don't get it. And you'll be able to go through your presentation. You'll be able to describe the product, but they're not going to understand the connections and the correlation to and the connection to the value and what the real impact and the meaning is to the person that's listening for the first time. Remember, it's the first time they're hearing it. You've gone over it and memorized your presentation, and it's still the first time they're hearing something. So it's critical that when you try to bring up impactful elements of the presentation, that they feel it. They don't just hear it, they're feeling it. There are certain elements that you can put in. We call it staging, right? Staging or framing something. So if I'm going to talk about recruiting, I'm not just going to talk about what recruiting is for a business and then going right down the description of our product line. I want to talk about why it becomes the most important element of their company's growth. So if I said to you right now, Joe, the most important section of your company's growth is going to be your ability to attract the best candidates, would you agree with me on that? And if they say yes, but everyone says that, right, Joe? So how hard is it going to be, and I'm not going to say that to them, I'm thinking this way because I'm so paranoid that if I don't frame it correctly or stage it correctly, everything that I do in the future is going to be not listened to. And it's just going to be zero impact. It gets crazy that way. So what am I going to do to be able to frame it correctly, to be able to have them really listen to me and then have that aha moment? If you're not thinking this way, then what happens is you go down a very parallel, very non-interactive, very energy diffused presentation of logic where there's no insight, there's no emotion behind it. When we sold the poster map, when we sold all different product lines, the critical element, like in the posters, we would not be here today if we did not come up with staging the product, staging the impact, framing the understanding. So for example, when we did posters, to give you an idea, if we spoke to a business that was in there for 20 years, 25 years with a business, and let's just say the business was there for 20 to 25 years, I could say, and the best part about it is now that you've been here for 25 years, people know where you are, so when they're looking at the map, they can actually find you. And then I go on to the next section. That is a non-staged, it's an emphatic statement that you're saying. And you're doing it in a way where it's as a matter of fact, and of course they know that they've been there for 25 years, and of course people are going to be looking for you, right? Comes across as a very descriptive way of saying it. You've been there for 25 years. The meaning is there. They have to now go through their head to decipher it, and then from there say, is it either a wow or I don't care? And based on the communicator, the influencer, they're going to be able to decide. So instead of saying something, which I'll do it again, and Steve, your company's been around for over 25 years, and obviously when people are looking at the map, they're going to see a business like yours, realize that you've been there for 25 years, and said you're part of the community leaders in the area, and that's why people will be very happy when they see it. Blah, 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 blah. There's no tie downs, there's no formula creating, there's no aha moments, and there's really no feeling behind it. Instead, so you've been here for 25 years. Now let's just think about that for a second. And let's just look outside your front where you see the sidewalk there. If you and me, and I know we can't do it right now because you're a very busy man, if you and me took a walk up and down the street, you can tell me, because of the 25 years that you've been here, you can probably give me an A&E biography as to the changes that have happened. See how you see that brand new building right across the street? 25 years ago, there was probably another business there, wasn't there, Joe? Do you remember that business? You remember the business. You know why? Because you've been here. You've been the bedrock of the community, haven't you? And that's why what happens, Joe, is when people look at these poster maps, they don't look for people that they don't know. Because why would you look for something that you don't know? You look for people that you do know. And when you see your building, and when you see your building here, like for 25 years, they don't see a building and they don't see a logo. They see the experience that they had while working with you. And Joe, trust me, when people look at you on this poster map, they're going to smile because that's what you've done for your customers. Stop. Totally different from just saying and not going into it and not getting emotional. So, you know, when we're looking at the concept of emotions and feelings and aha moments, you have to frame it and stage it. I took him outside. He could do an A&E biography as to how it has changed. The sidewalks have changed. Everything has changed except for one thing, Joe. You haven't changed because you are part of the reason why this town is so great. You deserve to be on this. We deserve to have you on this. And trust me, your absence would be noticed. So these are the concepts and build-outs. That was in a poster map. We never would be here today if we didn't have these influencers, these enlighteners. And the formula typically when you're doing it is, here's what I mean by this. Let me say it this way. Because what you're doing is you're taking the actual word or the description of the words and you're flipping it and customizing it, framing it, or staging it to that particular person. It is a different way of looking at it. If you go into a presentation and all you're doing is reciting words in a presentation and trying later on to tie them down, that means you have absolute no romance in your presentation. There's no feeling of, wow, this person really believes it. So when we're talking about anything, if you bring up a third-party story, I know exactly what you mean. Steve Jones, right down the street, whom I'm working with right now, had the exact same question. But here's what I said to him. And what I mean by that is this: if you're doing that in your presentation and enlightening them, you're really getting a person. Remember, they've only heard it. They're hearing it for the first time. So what you've done 5,000 times, 10,000 times, they have heard it once. It has to register and it has to connect. And when you're bringing something up that's critical into the value of what they're doing, you have to get them into that. You have to grip the letter. You have to have a conviction statement. You have to have third-party stories. You have to have, this is what I mean by that, and it illustrated it in a different format so they see the value connections. And when you're doing that, you are not a feature-oriented salesperson. You are a benefit instructor and believer for that person to understand. Remember, this is the hardest part of sales. You always are the most honest person in the room. The believability index has to be at the highest. A presentation will not achieve that because there's no customization to that person. You have to be pliable. You have to freelance in a structured format. These are the things that you have to do. You have to stage, you have to frame, you have to be able to look and talk, you have to be able to speak on your feet, you have to be fluid. And if you're doing those things, then people will believe you. Thanks. How's that?